Okay, hello and welcome to this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. Today we will be discussing the Singapore Grand Prix, or the Marina Bay Grand Prix. I don't, not many people call that, but when they refer to Singapore, they refer to Marina Bay. Just a little elaboration. Either way, today we will be recapping, reviewing, and reacting to all of the things that happened this weekend. And if you already know how it ended, this is going to be a much happier video than this entire season's been with the Red Bulls. Either way, we'll talk about that more later. Either way, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button again. And yeah, roll the intro.
Singapore brings us the most advanced new street circuit the sport has ever seen, complete with the most advanced street lighting the world has ever seen. It's now all set to bring us, for the first time, the Singapore Grand Prix, Formula One's first ever night race.
Okay, in FP1, not much happened. I mean, I've been meaning to explain this in a way. The free practices, it's obviously they're important and they're entertaining to watch sometimes, but it's not always gonna be like this big racing spectacle. People have DM'd me and asked me oh, the free practices are so boring. No. I get it. The free practices aren't for us. They're for the drivers and safety. Either way. So FP1, not much happened. I mean, a few spinning out, not much. Okay. And then FP2. So Singapore was the first ever night race in 2008, I believe, is when it was first established. It is a street circuit as well. And they have shortened the track by 3 corners and around 135 meters from how the circuit was previously set up. But yeah, it was the first ever Formula One night circuit. It was for the 600th Grand Prix of Formula One history. They were like, let's do something new. And so then they did the Singapore race in 2008. I'm 80% sure. The Singapore race in 2008 at night. And so since then, they've been still doing a lot more races, because especially in places that get super hot and are really bad for tire degradation, things like that. So, Bahrain was a night race. I don't remember if Saudi Arabia was. I feel like it was. I don't know. In the 2024 season, there are 6 night races. And then the other night races are, I don't know about Vegas, but Abu Dhabi, I'm 80% sure it is. And there's other ones I'm just forgetting. Anyway, moving on. Lando had McLaren upgrades, but Oscar did not have all of them. He had a few of them, but not all of them. My next note is I think that this race is the biggest chance for Ferrari, and then lots of braking problems. What's going on up here? FP3. Qualifying is key to the Grand Prix. No shit. But I said that more because obviously qualifying is key to any Grand Prix. But in Singapore, however, in the past 8 races, I think, they said 5 of them have been won by pole. So, the Williams livery is so ugly. They were sponsored by Gulf, and they just had this livery. Not my cup of tea. The Ferraris are ahead of the Mercedes. Ahead of the Mercedes on the slower tire. Liam Lawson locks up and spins out, but misses the wall narrowly. It was there was a big chance of there being an issue, but he was all good in the end. The Red Bulls are really fighting the drivers. The cars are really fighting the drivers. The Astons are sitting 9th and 14th. For the last 2 races, they have really struggled. I think now Lewis is ahead of Fernando on the constructors championships, or not the drivers championship. Okay, moving on. Lando into P1. Max's upshifts are clearly having a lot of problems, and the session had no halts or anything like that, and so it ended perfectly on time. nope, not FP. I'm qualifying. Q1, 15 minutes. No tire allocation this weekend, and the tire allocation, which has just been instilled this year, was it in Monza? I feel like it was. Anyway, is in FP1, or FP1. I just came home from school, y'all. I'm a little frazzled. In Q1, you're on hards. Q2, you're on mediums. And in Q3, you're on softs. Okay. So when I was first getting into F1, I never understood this until obviously now I understand it. But when you're watching qualifying, if you do watch it, you will see how the drivers go into their garages for like 5-6 minutes and then come back out. And you're like, why are they doing that? This is why. So you want to set your fastest lap or your ending time at the last moment. So when the checkered flag is out. Because once you've set it, okay, so hold on. So say I'm a driver coming out of the garage. I have to reach the finish line or starting line, starting line, whatever, before the session runs out. So then that lap will count. So say whatever, I do that lap and then I finish it and I'm the last person to set my time and my time is the fastest out of everyone, that makes me go to pole. Because, for example, say Lando sets P1 and then, well, let's just do this. Lando, I don't remember if this happened this weekend. Either way, this is a theoretical. This might have actually happened. I don't remember. Say Lando sets P1, but then Max finishes his lap and goes in front of him. And then Lewis sets his lap and goes in front of Max, like Silverstone. I think that's literally what happened in Silverstone. But yeah. And so they go in their garages so their tires can cool off and possibly refuel, probably not. Their tires can cool off and they can settle the car down so it doesn't have to overheat and etc. And then okay. Yuki goes P1 and Q Lance's crash. It was a bad one. It pulled the red flag. Yuki got to bask in the glory of being in P1, so either way. It was a bad crash. I mean, Lance thankfully was okay. I don't think he has any physical injuries. He may just have mental injuries. Either way, seems like he was just pushing too hard, and I think what he did is he hit the curb and it launched him because he was pushing so extremely. But yeah, Oscar got stuck at P17, so then he was knocked out of qualifying. He was knocked out of qualifying. Yeah, he was knocked out of qualifying in Q1, which maybe not the first time, but and then I once again explained he just bumped his rear tire and it sent him spinning with the momentum, and then Lando just barely swerves from Lance's crash because like you saw, it was a bad one. Luckily Lance took his hands off the wheel so they didn't break. Because if you don't remember, at the beginning of the season, like a few days before the season started, so in March, Lance broke one or both of his wrists in a biking accident, I believe. And so he had a broken wrist in Bahrain and partially in Saudi Arabia. So it would have been bad. Either way, and then my last note of Q1 is Martin's son, Alex Brundle's there. Martin's son, Alex Brundle, races in something. I think he is a Le Mans racer. Anyway. Q2, 10 minutes. GP covering for Max because Max was just stopped at the end of the pit lane for some reason, and that would have been an impeding, I believe, or stopping, whatever. And so then GP goes, okay, Max, everything all good. This is the radio. Everything good. And Max goes, there's just a lot. And then GP cuts, oh, yep, checking that now. Covering for him. GP is his head engineer, by the way, if you don't know. His name's Giovanni, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll put it on the screen. Checo went into the wall, like, wall. Not good. Max can't get the Red Bull to work. Lawson knocks Max out of Q3. Lawson, third F1 race, knocks the reigning world champion out of Q3. You gotta love that. It's just great. Anyway, Lawson's F1 debut is just so impressive. Like Crofty said, he survived Zandvoort, which is an achievement. He did quite well in Monza, and he's in Q3 in Singapore. Either way. Charles is for sure going to be mad with anything other than... Oh, I'm reading from the wrong thing. Either way. The Lawson thing stands. But I was reading from Q3, not Q2. Red Bulls... Both of the Red Bulls are out in Q2, which hasn't happened since 2018 Russia. Anyway, I think Checo really just locked up, and that's why he hit the wall. And then I said, there's so much irony in that this race could make Red Bull win the Constructors' Championship, and it's just fucked. If they got 1-2 and Mercedes scored no points, then they would have won the Constructors' Championship. So, Q3, 5 minutes. I think the lizards are throwing off the drivers because in Singapore there's like these giant, ugly, freaking lizards. I hate lizards so much. Don't get me started. Charles is for sure going to be mad with anything other than the pole. And then I think... So, I was watching Lando's car when he was finishing one of his like warm-up laps. And his side rod was like wiggly. Or side pod. If you look... There was like a hole in it, which is not good because then air goes through that, and you don't want that. You want air to push you forward, not to go through you. Make any sense? Either way. K-Mag in Q3, Kevin Magnussen. Both houses were in Q3 actually, which was very exciting. The Ferrari engineer on the left front tire for Charles looks so depressed. For the first time since 2018, there hasn't been a Red Bull in Q3. Carlos is the first driver to get consecutive poles from Max, and I really just love the lineup. Put the lineup on the screen now, and that is our starting grid for the Grand Prix. Now onto the Grand Prix. 62 laps, no Lance Stroll because he was still recovering from his crash. Ferrari 1-2 start. Lewis should get a penalty for leaving the track and gaining an advantage. So what happened? Now we've started. Lewis was trying to push Lando because Lando was in P3, okay? He was trying to push Lando, or no. Wait a minute. Where did Lando start? Wherever Lando started. Lewis was behind. I think, no. This is what happened. It was Sainz, Russell? So it wasn't a Ferrari 1-2. Sainz, Russell, Leclerc, Lando, Lewis. Lewis was trying to overtake him, back to what I was saying. And he just pushed. He was trying to push Lando, but then ultimately just failed. And he went off the track, but then still got in front of Lando. So I think that should have been a penalty. It didn't end up being a penalty, but... Anyway, Yuki just stopped. And then Yuki is out again, as he was in Monza. So really, the Red Bull, the AlphaTauri and the Red Bulls were just not on it this weekend. But for Liam Lawson, they were. Either way. Lando telling them that it's not George and it's Lewis who's the issue. DRS was enabled at this point. Yuki had a puncture, supposedly. Lando was told to push. Something happened with Logan, and then Logan really just nailed the wall. Safety car might be imposed, and safety car. Safety cars are very, very essential in strategy for Singapore. Because in Singapore, the average lost time with a pit stop is, I think, 26 seconds. And to put that into perspective, I think in the end, the top 10 were only, like, in the first few laps, the top 10 were, like, barely separated by, like, 5 seconds. Even less than that, I think. Either way. So then Lando boxed, the Ferraris boxed, Russell boxed, I think I said Russell in. Something held up Charles. Fernando's penalty for crossing Fernando has a penalty for crossing the pit lane, 5-second penalty. I don't think he took it. I think he added it to his time. And so what happened was, I don't really know what happened, to be candid with you. I think what happened is that he locked up a bit, and then he was like pulling back, and he went over the pit lane entrance, and that is not allowed. Anyway. Lando just passed Max. I was very happy. And then I said, the analogies that they use are so fucking weird. And then we were 1 hour in at this point. George wants to overtake Carlos, Perez pitting. Let's have the Red Bull stay in 15th and 18th. Something happened with Esteban. So, I don't even know. And what made it so much sadder was Esteban's car. It was on, oh my god, the Grand Prix was on Esteban's birthday. I think the car just shut down. Either way, virtual safety car, which means they have to slow. They don't have to follow the safety car. They just have to go half of this, or I don't remember what it is exactly. Stacked Mercedes and went very well, which was very scary. If the podium stays, it probably won't, and it didn't, but it kind of did. It would have been Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, which are my 3 favorite drivers. So, the 3 favorite active drivers. Ocon was so pissed, it was scary. I don't care if it's George, Lewis, or Carlos, as long as I don't care if it's George, Lewis, or Carlos who win. I just want it not to be a Red Bull. Lando is slowly attacking Carlos. Valtteri had a hydraulic problem, 5 laps left. It's not impossible, so it's holding out hope for Lando to win. Unfortunately, that did not happen. But Suzuka is the next in Japan, is one of his best races. Best tracks, best races. Do you see what's going on with my eyelashes? Either way. Yellow flag. Alex stopped but got running again, and then I said, I'm so tense. Carlando. So it was okay, so what happened? That's reverting. I don't know if I need my notes anymore. So, as I said, the Mercedes stacked, meaning both of them pitted, and they went onto fresh mediums, because they had a fresh pair of mediums because they didn't use them in the free practices. And so they were attacking Lando and Carlos, and it was, but in the last battle, and so what happened is that they were aiming for a win, and it was just bad, either way. So it was, as I was saying, it was Carlos, Lando, George, Lewis, okay, and they were chasing him down, like, extremely. So what Sainz did is he pushed Lando back to defend against the Mercedes, and then Sainz made sure to keep Lando within DRS range to keep him safe, which genuinely warms my heart so much. If you don't know, Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris used to be teammates at McLaren for a few years together, and they are still very good friends, but I just love them as a duo, and they're both very talented drivers. Either way, still, last lap, and then George smashes the wall, like full on smashes the wall. It was bad, and he was so upset, and it just broke my heart. Either way, 4 more corners, and Carlos won! Ferrari won! Finally! I was so utterly excited, and then Lando and P2, like, this was genuinely my dream race. Like, it's been easily one of the best races of the season. I just loved it. Just very excited. And then Lawson scored points on his 3rd race, which is more than De Vries ever got in his first, 10 races? So the AlphaTauri lineup is very confusing right now, because it might be Yuki and Daniel, it might be Yuki and Lawson, it might be Daniel and Lawson, it might, it's a whole big thing. Or they might piece Logan Sargent and put him in a Williams. Who knows? I guess we'll see by 2024. Or not 24, 2024. There we go. We'll know by the end of a few races. Anyway, yeah. Smooth operator. Anyway, that is everything you need to know about the Singapore Grand Prix, Malaysian Grand Prix. I don't know. It was amazing. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Finally, someone besides Red Bull won. I was very, very pleased. Like, genuinely, there was tears in my eyes. I was so happy. Either way, I hope you enjoy. Ew. The game did die. Yeah. There we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button if you please. And yeah, I will see you next week for Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix. Same time, same place. Yeah. And also, if you need to catch up on any of the other races, I have covered every race of the 2023 season so far. So yeah, I hope to see you again. Yeah, make sure to subscribe. Bye. Love you. Roll the outro.